All right, Pete, let's take a quick look at this. I know we usually show you guys videos right here, but instead I'm just going to show you a quick tweet. One of the best in the game, Josh Allen. He's used to doing that. And our friend Kristen Kaliga, who's an agent with Vanguard Sports, she's got 3 players that she represents, Pete, on the Bills. And she was there at that game, along with Doug Flutie, who also played for the Bills. It's going to be cold. I don't know if it'll be snowy, but it's going to be cold. And they say the real field temperature will be around -3, Pete, -3. This isn't exactly, though, the Dolphins or the Rams or the Chargers going into play there. Baltimore's not as cold, but I don't think this is really necessarily an edge for the Bills. Do you?
No, not an edge. There's no way. Baltimore can be pretty ferocious in terms of wind, in terms of cold and snow. But obviously, it's a home game for Buffalo. It's a big stadium. Those people don't mind throwing back a couple of drinks before they get in there, John. So it's going to be a lot of fun in that stadium. I promise you that. What do you got there? A little bit of a Puerto Rican beer or something already?
It was the microbrew.
Right. That sounds great. Well, but in any case, yeah, I think Josh Allen is absolutely amazing. Now, he's got to get over the hump. And if he doesn't, then that's one more year that people are going to say, when is it ever going to happen, including Josh? He's been, Kansas City. That's a tough one. Obviously, the Ravens, when you've got the King Henry running the football, I don't care who your defense is. They can be great. They still going to have to really strap it up, so to speak, John, because that guy is a freak show talent that I don't think anybody understood in the free agency market, which is where we're going now. The NFL. Right. For all these teams that are not part of the playoffs any longer, there is a big bunch of data that they're going to be collecting, John, because it's about free agency. It's about the draft of the college players that are coming in. And we've seen quite a few college guys who are now jumping and saying, okay, I am going to go in the NFL draft. I'm not sure what the hurry is, quite frankly, because these guys are getting more money now, John. Did you see what the quarterback from Georgia, back when he went down to Miami, what they paid him? $4 million. $4 million for the 1 year he's going to be down in Miami. And by the way, Brock Purdy's still making $900,000. So, gives you a little bit of perspective of what's the hurry to get to the NFL. But free agency is going to be here. Here's the top 5. T. Higgins from Cincinnati, the wide receiver, great player. Kansas City's got a guard, Trey Smith. I think when you look at the offensive lineman, John, that is what I would focus on if I'm a free agency, if I'm a GM.
That's what the Bears should go after.
You got to find old linemen, right? Experienced old linemen that are very good. I think this kid is great. By the way, our buddy Khalil Mack is still around, and he's fought off age, kind of like the way King Henry has. They're aging, but they're aging in a good way, like a fine wine. This guy, Khalil Mack, had a great year with the Chargers. So what we're looking at is we're seeing a lot of edge rushers that are in that top 5. I think that's interesting. Some receivers, John, I will say it again and again and again. If you want to waste your money on a receiver that is this much different than the rest of the receivers, the other 25 or 30, I think it's crazy. I think when you find a running back and look at Saquon, look at the year that he has had for Philadelphia. Look at the year that King Henry's having down there at Baltimore. I mean, I think that is, if you go through all the teams in the playoffs, you're going to find teams that run the football. That's what people need to be looking for, is who are the running backs? Forget the receivers. You can draft a guy in the 2nd or 3rd round. It's not a whole lot different than the guys in the 1st round or some of these free agents. So I think that's the way I would go. Do you agree, or do you think I'm playing it down far too much about these receivers? Because I look at JJ and the Vikings receivers. Yeah, they're great. They really are. Maybe the best group of 3 in the NFL. But look where we are right now because we don't really have a great running game.
Right. Well, Pete, if you're Cincinnati and you want to win, you probably need to re-sign that receiver, but you also should go out and get Garrett Bowles, this offensive tackle from the Broncos, because the kid's a beast. He plays. He's like, believe it or not, Pete, he's from Walnut Creek, California, where you and I used to hang when we'd go out and see our brother Paul play at the University of Cal Berkeley.
Mhm.
And then subsequent to that, just going out and enjoying ourselves at Cal. But yeah, this kid can play, and he's huge. He's 6'5", pro measured 6'5", Pete, like 310, and he is one of the best pass blockers in the NFL. So if the Bears don't get him, Cincinnati better. If anybody other than the Bears or Cincinnati get this guy, it just shows that neither of those two teams want to be competitive.
Right. Yeah. These GMs, I just don't understand how they don't see what we see oftentimes, though. Like, you better have a defense. Look at Burrow, as good as he is, and one of the best seasons the best season he's ever had. And they didn't really go anywhere. Why is that? Well, because they got no defense. They can't stop anybody. They can put 27, 28 points on the board, but the defense is going to give up 31. I mean, that to me says that there's a bit of a problem, and you've got to do some improving on that. How about this, John? NCAA college football. Now, it's Thursday. We don't do a show on Friday. We've got, I believe, is it the 20th is Monday, right? So it's going to be a lot of fun because that is also the game for the first college football championship series with 12, right? So you've got Ohio State going up against Notre Dame. And just looking at what everybody is talking about, I get it why everybody is on the Ohio State side. There's something about Notre Dame, though, and what Marcus Freeman has done with the talent that they've got as well, John. Now, it doesn't mean that they win the game, but I think that I don't know why they couldn't. I mean, everybody that put up on them, other than Northern Illinois early in the season, and that was a huge hiccup, and they turned it right off of that. And maybe that was their point in time, kind of like Michigan for Ohio State, kind of made them all of a sudden decide, well, let's see, we're going to beat Tennessee 42 points we put up on. We put 41 on Oregon. We put another 28 on Texas. They went through the gauntlet of teams, right, from the SEC, Tennessee and Texas, the Oregon with the Big Ten. They went through them all, and they looked fantastic, but they didn't look very good against Michigan. I'll tell you what, if they played by any chance like they did against Michigan, against Notre Dame, that game ends up, it turns into a blowout.
Yeah.
I think. So I don't know. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Notre Dame. It's an 8-point spread. What do you think? What does Notre Dame got to do?
Well, Notre Dame's just got to put their helmets on, Pete, and play, because this is the number 2 defense in the whole country in terms of averaging points per game against them. People don't score on Notre Dame. So that portends exactly what you said about Michigan. Against Michigan, Ohio State could not score. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were making mistakes. They were getting stopped. They were getting punts blocked and whatever else. I mean, if that happens, you're right. Notre Dame could dance through this thing. But the reason that it's an 8-point game for Ohio State, which might be a little rich, Pete, is that these guys have Will Howard, Jeremiah Smith, the freshman phenom, who, if he could come out, would. But he can't, of course, because he's a true freshman. And then the running back, Travion Henderson or something like that. They can put up points on anybody. Now, they haven't played Notre Dame's defense yet. So if that defense shows up and really shows up, I'm with you. Notre Dame easily beats the spread. However, if those receivers, running backs, and Will Howard do what they've been doing in the playoffs so far, yeah, hands down, they should be an 8-point favorite.
Yep. All right, lastly, we got one more. We got a little bonus for sports on this Thursday since we're not around tomorrow. Here's the bonus. The NBA's got a competitor, John. I mean, the NBA, who's, by the way, as we've talked about, their ratings are in the crapper. They've been dropping. You go back 5 years, 10 years, whatever time frame you almost want to go. These guys have really been dropping. They don't have the Michael Jordans of the world anymore. Now they've got a bunch of guys that are sitting out. And you know what? And they think that's okay. And so because of that, I think the fans are speaking pretty loudly about what they think about what's going on in the NBA and load management and all the crap that goes with it. So somebody's out there who wants to raise $5 billion in private capital. And they've got UBS, they've got Evercore, they've got all these different folks. They want to raise all this money. Here's the thing that's puzzling to me, though, John. They want 6 men's teams, 6 women's teams, and they're going to be in 8 cities. I don't know what the hell these guys are talking about. They maybe can prove you and I wrong because I see you shaking your head. But I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I mean, I played in one of these leagues. I played in a spring football league that actually had pretty good success enough that the NFL got kind of scared and they bought it, and they ended up turning it into NFL Europe. And, that didn't work out either. But I don't know how this is going to work. I'm looking at the NBA, John. I mean, the NFL's had the USFL, the World Football League, the World League of American Football. They've had all these spring leagues and everything else, right? Some of them got a little bit of traction. Some didn't. But in the NBA, are you kidding me? I don't even like just how the formation of what they're trying to start with doesn't even make sense to me. How about you?
Well, I think they're smart to only have 6 teams, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're stupid to have women. And that's not to say that women don't deserve a league, but the WNBA loses bank every year, even with Caitlin Clark, even with Angel Reese. So if you've got the most recognizable people of the last quarter century for women's basketball, and you're still hemorrhaging money, let somebody else write that check.
Yeah.
I think, Pete, that if you just did a 6-team league, you could, a 6-team competitive league against the NBA, you could make some traction. And if you pick the right cities and you got lucky with a player or two, you could have a real competitive league. And then sort of like the NFL, NFC versus AFC, and it's all part of the NFL. The AFL, of course, came and was a big competitor, signed Joe Namath and all that kind of stuff, and declared themselves a real league. If you want to burn through money, a guy like Bezos can burn through money. He loses $70 million a year with the Washington Post. The NBA loses multiples of that with the WNBA. So if you want to survive, you can't have the women's teams as part of it, at least not at this stage. Would I be against them ever doing it? Well, if the WNBA proves that they can actually turn a profit, then maybe I'd say 5 years from now, you could jump in that. But otherwise, stay the hell away from that and just focus in on a competitive league against the NBA. Don't let them do load management. Move the three-point arc back even further so that guys actually have to play in the paint again instead of just firing howitzers over the three, which gets boring, quite frankly, Pete. It's a lot of skill, but it's boring.
Yep. Well, and the ratings speak volumes, right? I mean, all you've got to do is look at the ratings, and people can say, well, but this or that. No, not this or that. It is what the ratings are. And I think if ESPN had to do it again, they probably wouldn't have paid the kind of money that they paid for the NBA. But it is what it is. And you know what? ESPN's big boy. They've got a lot going on in football, so they got plenty of cushion on the money side of that whole thing.
Yep. Well, folks, we appreciate all of you. Make sure that you put a heart or a like on any of the socials that we put out with the stocks, the sports, or whatever it might be. And we'll be back here for you Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you then.